When we look back at the year, we often only look at the best moments, the times when we were happiest, the moments that brought us the most joy. Whether it be spending those moments with that special someone or just chilling with the boys late at night playing your favourite game. Those memories will fade with time, but those feelings will always remain. So to say that out of all of that, one of the best moments of the year was watching an anime, most people would be shocked. But with every other single video I've made, I've got to lay out a decent argument to get you to believe me. So, this is why Jujutsu Kaisen isn't just anime of the year, but why it's also one of the most provoking pieces of fiction I've ever immersed myself in. For a second, imagine yourself to have stumbled upon a secret society that completely flipped your perception of reality on its head. A world you had no idea existed, but now you're in it. You fail to understand how the chaos has been hidden from you so well. You meet people, form friendships, friend groups, train and get abilities, face up against other people in trials. Jujutsu Kaisen starts off like so many other adventure series, a Harry Potter or Percy Jackson. However, as you get into more situations, the villains scheming more and more, you start to realise the unfairness of the world you're actually in. That the Harry Potters and Percy Jacksons were just fairy tales, whereas this is the grim reality. Your idealistic nature has led you to believe you'll be able to beat the bad guy, that you're strong and you'll always get up, that your conviction will keep pushing you forward. Jujutsu Kaisen takes that, all those emotions, feelings, happy-go-lucky nature, and throws it out the window. This is a world where you will suffer, where the tiniest of mistakes can lead to your best friend being killed right in front of your eyes, where that good nature you have has indirectly caused the deaths of others, and you now have to suffer with that, where even if you're the strongest, you can fail to protect what's closest to your heart. These themes are hardly new in media, even more so in the medium of comics. Themes of the hero having to go through sacrifice to evolve, to know the pain of losing people to make them continue what they are doing. However, the focus is always on one person through a story. We may see glimpses and moments of the turmoil of other characters, but the series will always stay with the protagonist. This being especially true with Western comics, never being able to fully utilise its cast of characters to its full potential, to bring out the most potential. Always going back on interesting ideas for the sake of keeping the canon intact, for not wanting to make any permanent effects stay in the world. However, with manga, and specifically what Jujutsu Kaisen does so well, is taking those foundations, those emotional moments, that cast of characters, and elevating it to new heights. Whilst comics run off the foundation of the run, with a set creative team writing their take on the character for a certain amount of years before handing it over to the next writer, keeping core themes, changing small items each time, manga runs run off the linear story method. There is a beginning, there is an arc, and if the manga is not cancelled, there is an end. With each manga having one creative team with complete creative freedom, the world of the story is the oyster for which dreams are either made or broken. Through the length of these stories, we get to see the characters grow and evolve again. We don't see them reiterate the same story arcs, we don't see the same characters being killed and brought back again and again. There is no lack of permeance, which for someone who had read exclusively comics until the age of 16, manga was the biggest breath of fresh air. And anime was the place where I could see those stories, that material, those panels I could only imagine the movements and colours of, brought to life. Returning to the story, you look at the world you joined, that you thought you could still hide, was actually bursting at the seams, and now it is spilled outward. Every facet of the world you came from now unwittingly engulfed in the problem you were trying to protect it from. From episode to episode, it goes from bad to worse. They don't care if you like a certain character, dead. They don't care if their character is strong, dead. No matter what you want, life will always be impartial to your wishes. So what now? Do we quit? Do we give up? Or do we keep striving forward with our convictions pushing us from behind? What do we have left other than our purpose? When we've lost friends, family, loved ones, what is there to fight for other than what they fought for? To continue the fight. This story has been told again and again, in real life and in fantasy, that the hero will always rise back up. But this time we aren't heroes, we're just people, just kids. A 15-year-old boy who has the greatest sorcerer turned cursed, inhabiting his body, infiltrating his mind. For 15 episodes we watch in happiness, in awe, in confusion, in sadness as we see this 15-year-old boy lose it all, lose his humanity, lose his body, lose his teachers, lose his friends, lose his strength, and eventually lose his mind, having to watch as the demon inside him kills hundreds of bystanders, acting as if they are nothing more than fodder, all with a smirk on his face. Whilst in most stories this amount of pain is enough for a whole book, it is merely just a part of the writing at play here. Just one character struggle in a cast of characters who suffer from strength, failure, isolation and sadness. Gojo Satoru is the strongest. From birth, he had reshaped the entire world around him. From birth, whilst being able to make friends, be confident, and ultimately be a force for good, he is still in isolation. His level of power so far from anyone around him that he is both disconnected and connected from reality, arguably having more in common with the villains of the series than the friends around him. Even as a teenager, whilst not being as strong, there still remains a gap from his friends. He still feels in another ball court, and his transformation into something further straying from those friends is all but assured. Whilst he grows in power, he leaves his best friend behind, slowly succumbing to isolationism, to regret and negativity, hiding his feelings in fear of worrying his companions, seeing the group around him slowly shrink as they are sent on missions that break their bodies or kill them, slowly leaving his world, his friends, his loved ones behind. Encapsulated by rage and disdain for regular people, he sees his best friend one last time and asks him perhaps the most important question of the whole series. Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo, or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? It is a question that can fully corrupt our soul. Are we us through everything we've been through, every decision we've made and every situation we've been in that allow us to have strength? Or is it that strength that has led to everything else? Will we ever have an answer? Maybe not, but within ourselves we will all have different answers, and that's the best thing about stories, finding our own interpretations of what's being shown to us. Yet again though, this is just another character in a whole story of emotions. From a father fighting a son who doesn't even know him because his body is pulled to fight the strongest, to a girl ostracized by her family for not amassing an innate power, to a curse coming to the realization it doesn't need to be human and they can just simply exist, to even the simplest of tales of a girl never being able to meet the man she liked because he is taken away from her. Every character, every story is all too real as we can relate to the human element. Sometimes it becomes impossible to see ourselves in these characters as they seem so far above us, their problems being on the scale of saving the world. However, what Jujutsu Kaisen does so well is pull that human element to the forefront. We may see the collapse of the world in real time, we may see countless civilian deaths, tragedies and so on, but that was never why we were here. We didn't come to see if they could save the world, we carried on watching to see Yuji, Gojo, Nobara, Megumi, Maki, Yuta, Chozo, and every other character find themselves, to better themselves and succeed on a personal level. When every story is about saving the world, we become detached from that threat, that situation. But when it's placed as a backdrop, when the story ultimately pivots back to showing that what these people could do to the world, we feel that fear. We're worried of Kenjaku's scheming, of Sukuna's plan to rule. As someone who dreams of one day soaring the same heights as Gege Yakutami, Tatsuki Fujimoto, Kentaro Miura, and Takahiko Inoue, it's work like this that inspire me to my core, that make me want to work even harder for that dream to write stories, to make people feel immersed in these worlds, to let them forget about the strife and turmoil of their own lives, and just have a break, even just for a moment. When it comes to animation, like a lot of people, I once also looked at it as nothing more than children's cartoons. Sure, they may have some adult themes, there may be a lot of extra fan service, but it must have just been the same. After years of putting it off, I'd finally started my first anime, a little known entity known as Attack on Titan, and that show took everything I'd ever said, every thought I'd ever came up with, every argument I used against the medium, rolled it up into a fist, and knocked my jaw off. And from that point on, I was hooked. Jujutsu Kaisen, like with most other things, takes the form of animation and elevates it to new heights I've never seen in the medium before. With fights so chaotic but beautiful, it puts you in your feels. With action so vibrant but so bloody, you can feel the weight of every attack. With a power system that constantly changes how the tradition of the fight is going to go, it keeps you guessing who will end up victorious. From season 1, the show came to prove something, and episode upon episode, it delivers animation that's so vibrant and expressive, it surpasses even the likes of One Piece and Demon Slayer. It may not be the best piece of fiction ever made, hell, it probably doesn't crack the top 10, but to me, it's the most inspirational piece of fiction I've read. It was the anime that truly got me into anime after Attack on Titan, and it remains the only series I will read on a weekly basis and buy the manga for on release. So if this video didn't already melt your walls towards the genre, then I don't know what will. But just between you and me, leave the world of stereotypes behind, the world of thinking this media is just for kids or for the loneliest of us, and experience a story that could quite possibly change your life. Also, Toji Physique, go hard.